Um, 2 Men on the Stool coming to you this time on a much more solemn note. Uh, a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about active shooter drill and a school shooting and safety in school. And less than 3 weeks from the time we recorded that show, we've had if my numbers serve me correct, our 487th shooting in this country this year alone.
This year.
And this year alone, and we got a response from a friend of ours that actually watched that show, and he simply said they didn't do what I told them on the show. Because we gave some tips. We said, parents, you got to be a part of this process. We're not pointing fingers, but we're saying, parents, you got to be a part of this process. You got to check people's bags. You got to be an active listener. You got to be in their head to know whether something's not right. To know whether something's not right, because we're saying that's the parent responsibility to lead off with. So, on a much more solemn note, here we are. Right now, based on the time that we're recording, we're only 2 days removed from the incident. And now we're so pulled or removed from it happening, we're already back into our normal routines in our life.
You know, I just want to say again, I'm reminded every time I hear about it, an active shooter, I always ask what happened. But I always go back and, we talk about, I was in the military, I served, I retired from the military. And you know how I feel about weapons, the devastation. But how does this, again, we have to ask these questions. These are, again, my analogy of the elephant in the room. A 16, 15, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 15-year-old can't go, a 14-year-old can't go to a gun store and purchase a weapon. How does the child get access? And so I'm not looking for blame, but I'm looking for responsibility. And I mean, we should be looking for responsibility, because at the end of the day, we're reminded of my brother and your brother losing a child. The devastation in gun violence. And here we go again. Are we becoming numb to it? It's happening too often that we're losing our most precious resource, our babies. And so it saddens me. But why? National news puts it out again, but we can't get our politicians, who are leaders in this world, to come together and say, hey, we got to do something and get beyond the money. Because when it affects you, and God forbid, I don't want it to happen to nobody, a child, especially a child, an innocent baby, and then our parents. And again, I'm just reminded when you and I sat, and then I saw a report where a second grader made the call to 911. That's sad. It's sad regardless. It's just a sad situation. And I'm just hurting from it, because I know there are some people right now that are in pain, suffering of losing a loved one. And I just can't fathom one of my children or grandchildren. I just can't. And tell them, and again, it hurts. We went through a fire drill. I get fire drills. I understand now why active shooter drills, but also ask why. What has happened to our country that kids find a way to hurt kids, harm kids, to try to solve their problems, to kill another being? I don't understand it.
So I would like to say just my request and my battle cry, and I don't know if those are the right words. Parents, we have a responsibility. I'm a gun owner. I know the process that you go through when there's a weapon in your house. Every night, it should be secured as part of your before you go to bed process. There is a process for you as a parent, your checklist, and in the morning when your kids leave out, have that conversation. You know if something's not wrong, if something's not right with them. Talk to them. Find out, hey, let's have a good day. Everything's good. How you feeling? Just a simple conversation. Hey, let me look in your book bag. Or you may not even ask, hey, I need to check your book bag. to make sure everything's okay. Because if I'm a gun owner, I don't know if I did everything I was supposed to do that night. I just want to assume that I didn't. Let me look in your book bag, just in case you thought it was a toy, just in case you thought it was something to play with, because you see so much of it on TV. Now you assume that it's safe to take it out your house. So as a parent, I'm asking you, I'm pleading. I think we can cut down on half of the school shooting violence and make sure that you check your kids' bags and have that conversation with them.
So in other words, again, it's inexcusable for a child to get access
If they took it from a home, it's very inexcusable.
from a parent.
Yes.
That's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. And you know, again, I know there's some mental illness issues out here. I get it. But again, we need to get to a place where children are not trying to solve their problems through gun violence, the harm and hurt of innocent people. We have to be cognizant of it. And if you're not talking to your child and see those indicators, there's some things you can't. But you ought to know there are some things going on with our children. We need to ask these questions. What's going on in school? Your child is a loner, staying in their room all the time. No social skills, not being involved. And again, we're not talking about this from a therapeutic standpoint because we're not therapists. But at the same time, there's some basic things. And Tony, I mean, every time I see you sent the text out telling us there's been another shooting, another school shooting. You and I have been through a school shooting. We understand how terrified our children are. And now we were just with first and second graders, and now here you are at another school with another school shooting. It's inexcusable. I don't know if very many things are as important as the safety of our children. We can't protect them. And, you know, again, we don't have a child or a youth problem. We have an adult problem because we have to take responsibility for it. I mean, we can keep talking about it, but that's the last thing I have to say, Tony, is responsibility. Adults, take responsibility and stop putting it off. We have a responsibility in our homes, not just feeding and clothing. You know, it's the other things that matters as well. And I always talk about those 4 P's, and safety and protecting. Your responsibility as a parent is to protect your child from themselves and from others. That's one of the P's that we talked about. You have that responsibility. I don't know, Tony. That's all I have to say about it. As solemn as it is, I watch my brother. I watch your brother, but I watch my brother, how much it tears on him every day. He lost his son 20 years ago, and he's still thinking about it every day. I can't even fathom. Devastating. I'm done. I don't have anything else to say about it. I mean, talking. As the old people used to say, as we used to say, talk is cheap. What are we going to do as a country?
That's how I'm closed. I don't have nothing.
All righty.